Good afternoon. We want to say thank you for all of those who have arrived for the Committee on the Environment of the Council of the City of Philadelphia. We're here today for a public hearing to be followed by a public meeting, and I wish to ask the clerk to please read the title of the first bill.
The first two bills are Bill number 160132, an ordinance amending Title 19 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Finance, Taxes, and Collections by adding a new chapter 19-4100 entitled New Sustainable Businesses to reduce the tax burden on new sustainable businesses, all under certain terms and conditions, and Bill number 160133, an ordinance amending Chapter 19-2600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Business Income and Receipts Tax to revise the sustainable business tax credit by changing the criteria for eligibility, by increasing the number of eligible businesses, by increasing the total tax credit amount, and by expanding the credit so that it applies against sustainable businesses' total business income and receipts tax liability, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you very, very much. And with that, we'd like to turn the mic over to Councilwoman Maria Quinones-Sanchez for opening remarks.
Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank this committee and all of the folks that we've worked with. A few months ago, I talked about branding Philadelphia the B Corp capital of the world. And the reason is we spent a lot of time here in council talking about sick leave, living wage, being obviously in this committee of the environment, protecting our environment. And what we have found that B corporations around the world are leading the charge in creating businesses, being diverse within their makeup, and sharing core values that we think are hugely important and that we attempt to legislate in this body all the time. This measure is part of the agenda that the Sustainable Business Network promoted in its campaign last year. They were proponents for many years of B corporations. In fact, then Mayor Kenny, as councilman, promoted these two legislative initiatives. And what we've done is we've taken our knowledge in understanding tax legislation and its impact on businesses, and have completed what he also articulated during the campaign, was that we needed to improve these incentives and encourage more of these businesses. Why this bill at this particular time? In districts like mine, where I represent 10 different L-stops, neighborhoods craving for creative and innovative businesses, I believe that these types of incentives will help us populate some of our commercial corridors and hopefully attract and retain the millennial population. There is a growing interest in B corporations at the college level and not only in Philadelphia but across the country. Existing B corporations in the city of Philadelphia are varied, and what we've learned in our conversations with them and visiting them is that they're innovative, they're creative, and they will, through their sustainable and practices, really grow our economy at the same time as taking people as what they call the triple P, protecting the planet. They look at people and they look at their profits, and the numbers show that they're extremely profitable. We want to thank the administration for working with us on expanding these initial pieces of legislation that, as I said, were created by then Councilman Kenny, and we thank this committee, and we ask that you support these pieces of legislation as one more important tool in a toolbox about sending the message that Philadelphia is open for business. Thank you.
Agreed, 2,000%. With the opening remarks, let's now move to the first panel, Christine Knapp, to come and speak on these bills. Next up will be United by Blue, Kelly Offner, Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia, Jamie Gauthier, and B-Lab, Hardik Savalia. If you could be prepared. Proceed with, state your name and proceed with your testimony.
Chairwoman, Councilman Reynolds Brown, and members of the Committee of the Environment. Good things happening. I am Christine Knapp. I'm the Director of the Office of Sustainability. I'm here to testify on Bill number 160133, which expands the structure and scope of the existing Sustainable Business Tax Credit. Do you want me to switch? Okay. sorry, as well as Bill number 160132, which expands the Jumpstart program to a third year for qualifying sustainable businesses. The Office of Sustainability is responsible for the implementation of Greenworks Philadelphia, the city's comprehensive sustainability plan. Our aim is to grow as a green city, to embrace environmental stewardship and social equity, not only as core values, but as investment strategies for our community. Increasingly over the past decade, businesses have taken steps to incorporate sustainable practices into their operations. As demand for sustainable products and services has increased, it has taken on heightened value in the marketplace among consumers. In 2012, Philadelphia became one of the first cities in the country to offer a tax credit for certified sustainable businesses. Businesses can choose to certify through B-Lab's process or via an application reviewed by the Office of Sustainability. As an initial approach, the credit was capped at $100,000 annually with a maximum credit per firm of $4,000, which only applied to the gross receipts portion of the BIRT. It's okay. The original legislation's annual reporting requirement and 5-year sunset has allowed us to learn from the program, assess its effectiveness, and potentially adapt as necessary. After 3 years of implementation, we have mixed views of the credit's effectiveness as currently structured. Since it was introduced in 2012, the number of businesses that claim the credit has decreased each year. Last year, only 9 businesses out of 25 available spots claimed the credit at an average of $1,700 per firm. Given 3 years to assess, we have not seen evidence that the credit is encouraging new startups or attracting new companies to Philadelphia. Rather, it serves as a small incentive to Philadelphia-based companies who are already incorporating sustainable practices into their operations. In discussions with the local business community, we have heard 2 recurring themes. Some believe that the cost of the tax credit, combined with the B-Lab certification process, exceeded its benefits and was too small to make an impact on the company's bottom line. From other partners, we heard that the current structure of the credit, only applying to the gross receipts portion of the BIRT, prevented small businesses from taking full advantage of the $4,000 credit. We believe that extending the credit to apply to both gross receipts and the higher rate charged to BIRT's net profits is a smart and sensible improvement. This change would produce significant savings to smaller businesses whose gross receipts are not high enough to benefit from the current formula. We also believe that a reasonable increase in the number of businesses that would be able to qualify for this credit is appropriate. Incremental increases over the next 6 tax years would reflect real-life growth in this burgeoning market. The step-ladder approach mirrors the small and growing community of sustainable business in Philadelphia and also gives the Office of Sustainability an opportunity to grow our capacity as well. As we currently stand, we have limited capacity to verify and monitor ongoing compliance. Boundaries are necessary to effectively allocate resources as this credit grows in its popularity alongside its companion with the Jumpstart BIRT abatement, which is also being discussed. So we support this legislation with the proposed amendments, and we're eager to work with Council to develop and implement a broader sustainable business attraction strategy. On Bill 160132, we also look forward to moving this ahead in partnership with City Council, the Councilman Sanchez's office, the Commerce Department, PIDC, and other private sector partners to develop a more comprehensive green business and economic development plan. We also recognize that we need more thoughtful planning. Few cities have developed a comprehensive sustainable business attraction plan, suggesting that Philadelphia has an opportunity to become one of the first cities to create and advertise a cohesive set of activities or incentives to lure sustainable businesses here. A critical component of this process will be to better understand how the city can help existing local green businesses to grow while encouraging new startups and attracting new companies, both large and small. As part of the plan, we will need to develop truly effective incentive programs. Such programs can include rent reductions in certain zones, programs for entrepreneurs, and startup funding grants. We also need to identify the regulatory obstacles that act as barriers to growth and to address those. Our identity as the greenest city in America will depend on our ability to grow and support a vibrant network of green companies to attract successful new members of green industries, encourage local startups, and foster increased awareness of local supply chains. The Office of Sustainability is happy to provide support for this legislation with the proposed amendments again, and are eager to work with all of the partners to implement a broad sustainable business attraction strategy that supports Greenworks and advances our city's sustainability and economic development goals. I thank you. I'll be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from members of the committee? Thank you very much. While I'd like to call up the next panel, Jamie Gauthier and Hardik Savalia, and I'd like to ask Councilwoman Sherelle Parker has the mic, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I wish to be recorded as voting aye on all bills and resolutions heard by the committee today. I have a district-specific meeting that I must attend, but wanted to have my vote recorded.
Okay. We appreciate your presence, and we know what it's like to be in 14 places at one time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Please proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Jamie Gaudier, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sustainable Business Network of Greater Philadelphia, or SBN. SBN is a nonprofit membership organization for locally owned businesses committed not just to profit, but to making positive social and environmental impacts through their businesses. Our mission is to create an economy in the Philadelphia region that is based on these same principles, one that is locally based, socially equitable, and environmentally sustainable. I'm here today to speak in support of Bills 160132 and 163, and also because I believe that mission-driven businesses are a tremendous resource in impacting a host of complex issues, such as deep poverty and environmental concerns. Though our ability to successfully tackle these challenges is incredibly dependent on strong government leadership, our success will ultimately hinge upon our collective strength. It will take the ability and commitment of our entire community, government, nonprofit, and business to address our most pressing challenges. It is this commitment to positive social and environmental action through business that is embodied by our hundreds of business members. For 15 years, SBN has pursued the vision of a local economy built upon the pillars of environmental responsibility and social equity. But it has been the everyday efforts of our members committed to acting as a force for positive change in the region that has steadily marched us towards this goal. Increasing the number of businesses committed to a triple bottom line would advance the City of Philadelphia's goals for shared economic prosperity and sustainability. To illustrate, I'd like to just list a few statistics about triple bottom line businesses. Please consider that 9 out of 10 B Corp businesses are locally owned and are 3 times more likely to be owned by minorities and women. 74% are affiliated with local charities, and they are 30 times more likely to donate at least 10% of their profits to charity. 44% offer some form of employee ownership. B Corps are twice as likely as other traditional businesses to offer health insurance and retirement plans. 33% of them make products that preserve the environment. 72% of them use renewable energy. And these businesses are 30 times more likely to work inside of a green or sustainable building. It is for all of these reasons that SBN applauded City Council in 2009 as Philadelphia became the first city in the nation to offer a tax incentive for triple bottom line or sustainable businesses. The Sustainable Business Tax Credit Program elevated the dialogue about all that business could be and began laying the foundation for a business climate that could support our transition to a values-based economy. While the Sustainable Business Tax Credit Program is a greatly appreciated acknowledgement of the sustainable business community's contributions to our city, the structure of the tax credit program is problematic, and it also undervalues the significant benefits social enterprises bring. The lowest of any credit offered by the City of Philadelphia, it is too small to make a meaningful impact on triple bottom line companies' bottom line. Participation in the program is further hindered by the fact that in order to receive the full $4,000 credit, the benefit, a business must have at least $2.8 million in total sales. For the Sustainable Business Tax Credit Program to become more than a symbolic gesture, these challenges to the program must be addressed. Doubling the tax credit to $8,000 would encourage more businesses to certify as social enterprises. It would also shift the revenue scale so that existing social enterprises with lower sales qualify. Similarly, extending the Sustainable Business Tax Credit Program to the net income portion of the BERT tax would produce significant tax savings to many small businesses whose gross receipts are not high enough to benefit under the current formula. Beyond improving upon the foundation that has been laid, what's also needed now is to establish an infrastructure for growth in the amount of businesses who know about and adhere to sustainable practices. Philadelphia can encourage businesses to solidify their commitment to positive change during the formation phase by extending exclusive benefits to triple bottom line businesses under the Jumpstart Philadelphia program. In a way that's similar to the Sustainable Business Tax Credit Program, the Jumpstart currently has no recognition of the benefits afforded by triple bottom line businesses and places them on equal footing with traditional businesses. Certainly, these bills alone will not secure Philadelphia's path towards a value-based economy. But this is a good beginning. This goal of building a totally sustainable economy will require a diversity of efforts, education, and promotion. Organizations like mine, SBN, and others must continue to offer complementary programming to build upon the momentum of this government action that we're taking today. But the foundation and infrastructure for growth that you, as our council leaders, can provide will form the right ecosystem for a just and sustainable economy to grow and thrive here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to appear before this committee, and I look forward to answering any questions that you have.
Okay, we thank you for your testimony as well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please pull the mic close to you.
Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon. My name is Hardik Savalia. I'm a program director with B-Lab, which is a nonprofit organization that certifies and supports B corporations.
We've heard a lot about B-Lab, and we want to hear more. But to do that, you're going to have to talk into the mic.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that better? Appreciate it. Thank you. And I, to date, our organization has certified approximately 1,700 companies as B corporations in about 50 different countries. And so it is with that perspective that I'm offering my comments today. Unfortunately, we are not tax experts or business location experts, but I can speak to the credibility of the standards as well as what effect and what benefits these kinds of companies accrue to the city of Philadelphia. For context, to achieve B Corp certification, companies must do two things. Those companies take and pass what's called the B Impact Assessment. It's a comprehensive and rigorous set of standards regarding their social and environmental performance. And second is that those companies legally expand their fiduciary duties so that their directors have to consider the interest of all stakeholders, not just their shareholders. And the combination of those two things is what makes these companies eligible to become a B Corp. There are over 300 distinct business practices that factor into achieving this status, and they range from what Jamie described as paying employees a living wage, hiring people with a barrier to employment, all the way to creating products and services that address the city's public health or environmental issues, to name a few. We think that these amendments will certainly help increase the number of businesses for whom this incentive is available and will be meaningful for them to adopt these types of practices. When businesses in Philadelphia adopt these things, the city accrues real benefits. When businesses create higher quality jobs for people of all types and backgrounds, or that they engage deeper with local organizations and charities, or that they reduce their environmental resource use, the city should see real reduced benefits on public services. And as a result, hopefully the quality of life that the citizens enjoy should be a lot greater. Cities all over the world, ranging from Baltimore to Philadelphia to Taipei, are quite frankly interested in unleashing the power of business to address our city's greatest challenges. And they are often calling the CEOs of these B corporations to ask about what their city can do. And so we are proud that the city is considering these amendments because they are concrete and they should make our city a leader in that regard. I hope that you'll consider voting in favor of these amendments. Thanks so much for your time.
I'm very excited about these amendments as well. I'm looking for a printed testimony. Did you supply printed testimony for us to keep for later?
We did, and
okay.
I think they're sitting with Councilwoman Sanchez's office.
All right, then great, because I would
we
like
have
to
them on hand as well.
Sure. Review it after the hearing. Any questions by members of the committee? No. Please, Councilwoman Sanchez.
No, go ahead. You can.
So is it fair to say that B-Lab provides technical assistance to entities or new organizations that want to become more environmentally responsible? Is that fair to say?
Good question. I'll offer clarifying comments there. B-Lab does not, B-Lab sets the standard and verifies their performance. We create software tools that allow a company to measure themselves against that. However, it is often lots of other organizations like SBN Philadelphia or others who can then hold those companies' hands to actually help them implement the necessary improvements.
Okay, very helpful.
Yeah,
Please.
We host educational events throughout the year, some of which have focused on the B assessment. We also use the B assessment as a tool even when businesses don't go on to become certified. So every time a member joins SBN or renews with SBN, they're asked to take the survey.
Okay.
And we would be happy to talk with you even after today about ways that we can work with others to ramp up that type of education.
Okay, we'll look forward to that subsequent discussion.
Yeah.
Please, Councilman Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. I remember initially hearing about B corporations a few years ago, and I guess the question that I have is, do you find more businesses more willing to become B corporations over time, and what has been some of the impediments of why a corporation that, from an Albert perspective, you would think would be a great entity to be eligible to be a B corporation, but for whatever reason decides not to be?
I'm happy to address that question. There are several reasons for what the potential barriers are. For 95% of businesses in our economy, they simply are not able to achieve B Corp certification because they don't meet the standards. Their practices are not strong enough to warrant them to achieve that level of performance. And that's why it's incredibly important that we spend time on education programs like what SBN Philadelphia is doing to help companies get up to that curve. Of those that are actually eligible and have the necessary practices, many of them, for a variety of reasons, are not interested in going forward through that process. One very specific reason is that in addition to achieving the standard, companies must expand their fiduciary duties. So their directors have to consider the interest of the employees, community, and the environment in addition to their shareholders. We find that often is the biggest barrier.
Right.
For us, it is incredibly important that still remains a core component of this, because we want those companies to not only good today, but to do that good for the long-term perpetuity of the company.
So for a corporation that takes on that higher level of, I'll say, fiduciary responsibility to be a B corporation, going forward, do you see any future benefits from at a federal level, from a tax perspective, that may entice more corporations to be a B corporation?
It's a good question. Those are certainly things that may come down the pike, either in the form of financial incentives or procurement incentives, et cetera. We, even without those incentives, we think that companies who have a mission should find value in expanding their duties in that way. Most of the CEOs or founders of these businesses want to make sure that their mission continues even if the owners change. They want to have that level of accountability towards their social mission. And so with or without that, we think that there is some value, and hopefully some of the companies that are here to testify will explain why they have chosen to do it.
Part of why this is important to us, to SBN, is that it will still be a relatively small, one of the smaller tax credit programs, even if it passes. But for us, it's a way to highlight the issue of sustainable business and to get more companies online with even learning what it is or being interested in learning more. So I think it's about the credit, but I also think it's about the visibility as well.
And one final question. Has there been a challenge in trying to raise the awareness of what is an actual B corporation? Has that been a challenge to let more people know the opportunity to take on this heightened level of responsibility as a corporation?
Sure. As with any new social narrative or new form, just like it took 30 years for the nonprofit sector to form, it will take another 30 years for the B Corp sector to form in our economy. And it's never a one-time event or a challenge. It's a continual effort that will overcome that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity, though, and it's really exciting. Councilwoman Sanchez?
Yeah, I wanted to, again, thank the SBN. We had an opportunity to do a roundtable yesterday with some of the businesses. I think one of the things, to Jamie's point is, and I wanted her to highlight, is there needs to be a full education campaign, and our hope is that, and I think the administration is very committed to it, is informing folks about this, because even the initial assessment, getting to a B Corp certification level is huge, and it requires a lot of investment from the companies, as was discussed. But just the very process of the young people at the universities, even in your own class, Councilwoman, when I went to your class the other day, one of the first questions from her students at St. Joe's was around B corporations. I think there's an opportunity here, and I want Jamie to speak to, you know, how the SBN views their role in helping the city build its capacity and understanding and embracing this sector.
Sure. We absolutely want to be a partner in this effort. And in fact, I have this, I think that there are so many companies out in the Philadelphia area that already are acting in ways that are sustainable, that already are giving back to their communities, that already are prioritizing working with local vendors. And there may still be things for those companies to learn to get to sort of full B Corp status. But I want to use this as a way to approach companies that already have an interest in doing good and kind of help to move them along the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very well. Councilman Green.
Yeah, just one other question. What has been the outreach in reference to communities of color in regarding B corporations?
Great question.
That's a great question. That's a great question. On average, it skews depending on the year, but it's somewhere between, and I'm speaking specifically to the B corporations that are owned by people of color, it's somewhere between 35% to 42% of the B Corp community, and which is, I think, much higher than the average business community.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be continued.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Panel number 2, Chris Jacobs, Solutions for Progress, Elizabeth Guman, Strategy Arts, Nicole, and I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name for me, Forsey Consulting, and Marcus Ionazi, Message Agency, Robert Cheatham, Azavia. Okay, Chris Jacobs, Solutions for Progress. Go ahead. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And obviously I'm not Chris Jacobs. And I don't have his eloquent British accent either, so bear with me. And Chris apologizes. He had a commitment that he had to make and could not be here this afternoon. But we are strongly in support of City Ordinances 160132 and 160133. As a member of the SBN, we believe that these bills will reduce the tax burden for new sustainable businesses and increase the sustainable business credit. They support the establishment and viability of for-profit businesses, as we've heard, that really are mission-driven and believe in that triple bottom line of profit, people, and planet. I believe reviewing SFP's history briefly, in the interest of time, background and how the company is contributing to the sustainable business culture of the city of Philadelphia will show how these bills can contribute both to the economic and cultural health of Philadelphia. SFP is a 20-year-old mission-driven Pennsylvania registered B Corp. We combine technology and public policy with a commitment to community outreach to deliver practical solutions to the complex problems of poverty. As we like to say, we're moving people from crisis to choice. Helping individuals and households overcome the devastating effects, the crisis of poverty, and become self-sufficient is at the core of our mission. To achieve this, we develop and operate a set of cloud-based platforms, the Benefit Bank and My Budget Coach, that enable our thousands of outreach partners to help low and moderate income individuals and families stabilize through enhanced access to federal, state, and local work and income supports, obtain assistance in job preparedness, and build and manage financial assets. ultimately arriving at the point at which they can genuinely make choices in their lives. From both a business and personal perspective, the ownership and employees view Philadelphia as their home. Although we are in multiple states, we consider ourselves a Philadelphia company. We were established and have always been based in Center City. The vast majority of our staff also live, many raising families, within the city boundaries. One of the goals that Chris set for himself and the company when he became CEO was that as the next generation of civic technology leaders in Philadelphia are trained and developed, not only are they given the great tech skills, but also a model of a culture that actively supports people inside the business and in the community. Recognizing the intense deadline-based pressures of a technology company, our own company of employees are supported with time to recover and revitalize. We offer a minimum of 3 weeks paid vacation, though through low turnover, again showing how we really are worried about the culture of our company. A vast majority of our staff qualify for 4 weeks. We also have unlimited personal days, fully paid sick leave, and 12 weeks of paid parental leave. We have been proud to be recognized by the Philadelphia Business Journal as a 2015 Healthiest Employer, by the American Heart Association as a fit-friendly worksite, and by the League of American Bicyclists as a bicycle-friendly business, one of only 161 companies nationwide. Chris himself is biking into work tomorrow for National Bike to Work Day. We believe in giving back and contributing to the community. We do this through offering facilities for community gatherings, giving preference to local sustainable and fair trade suppliers, supporting staff in pursuing community volunteer interests, and organizing volunteer opportunities during work hours. As far as being a B Corp, when formed, we chose to become a private sector company because of the flexibility, discipline, and speed of response the private sector offers. However, operating in a space that has been traditionally seen as the purview of government and the nonprofit sector, we were fighting a perception that we were only in it for the money. To demonstrate to our partners and potential partners that we had a commitment to the communities we served, we pursued becoming a B Corp, and were pleased to be certified by B Lab in 2012, and again in 2014. This offered independent verification of our commitment to do well by doing good both to communities across the country and to our own employees. The B Corp certification demonstrates that SFP meets the rigorous standards that you have just heard about. It is a good fit with our own values and allows the company to offer a unique combination of skills, attitudes, and experience to the fight to defeat poverty. And our goal is to defeat poverty, not, as some would seek, to manage poverty more neatly. We are also a registered benefit corporation in the state of Pennsylvania. We became one of the first when Pennsylvania passed the legislation. And in March of 2013, we were honored to be recognized B Lab as one of the 10 best for the world. And we are having an impact in our services to the community. TBB, since 2006, nationwide, we have served 1 million households in 10 states and claimed $2.1 billion in public benefits and tax credits. In Philadelphia alone, we have generated more than $78.4 million in benefits and credits. A majority of these funds are being claimed from federal sources, and multiple studies have found money injected into a state from outside the state is critical to generating economic activity. For example, it is estimated that for every dollar of SNAP benefits received, that generates between $1.70 and $1.84 in economic activity. As far as my budget coach, a recently independent 2-year evaluation conducted in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, and Texas showed that individuals using the service reported significant improvement in their household budget, ability to live within their means, avoidance of late fees by paying bills on time, and confidence to cope with the loss of income. Overall, the 300 project participants report having paid down over $60,000 in debt and having saved over $100,000. The example SFP provides can be replicated by other for-profit businesses. So it gets back to what was being talked about earlier with the burdens to becoming a B Corp and taking this commitment to being mission-driven. As more businesses become motivated to think beyond the traditional bottom line of monetary profit and think about supporting their employees and local communities, this commitment should be supported by the city. For early stage companies, this is both difficult and costly to do, as we've heard. Council Bill 160132 sends a loud message to this new type of business that going the extra 2 miles is rewarded both financially as well as with their overall reputation. It speaks directly to the entrepreneur, be that in Nicetown, West Oak Lane, Bridesburg, Monshua, Germantown, and elsewhere off the beaten path, that the city wants to support all businesses that take on the challenge of contributing to their community and looking after their staff. At the same time, the business is building a sustainable operation that will have an overall impact on the economic health of the city. With regard to Council Bill 160133, for the last 2 years, we have applied for the business tax credit. In 2015, we were waitlisted, and this year we were winners. Increasing the number of businesses eligible for the tax credit takes away the sense that it is a lottery and changes it to a positive reward that actively working to improve the community in which we live and work. Raising the value of the tax credit reinforces the message that the city recognizes that there is a cost to being conscious about how you act, and that the failure to act consciously costs the city and all of us who live and work here. The double bottom line in this case is that we respectfully ask that you report Bills 160132 and 160133 out of committee today. I believe these bills will continue to grow business culture in the city of Philadelphia that goes beyond the profit margin but looks at what is best for our employees, our communities, and our overall planet. I thank you for your time and will answer any questions you may have.
Okay, what I failed to do 2 things at the opening of your statement. First, for you to identify yourself.
I'm Mary Whalen.
Mary
Whalen.
Okay. So what organization were you speaking
Solutions
for?
for Progress.
I
was speaking for Chris Jacobs.
Okay, very, very well. And then I would like to remind everyone who's here, your enthusiasm is clear. However, we have many bills we have to get through, and typically the request is that you limit your testimony to 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that's quite all right. I didn't give you the instruction on the front end, so I'm giving the advice on the back end for those to follow, so that we can get through this afternoon's work and move to a public meeting so that we can take action. Okay? All right, then with that said, if you could state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Guman, and my business is Strategy Arts. I own Strategy Arts with my business partner. We're a consulting firm doing strategic planning, meeting facilitation, and leadership development in the Philadelphia and the surrounding region. We are a founding B Corp, meaning that we were part of the original businesses that received the B Corp certification. I'm speaking in support of this legislation, the 2 bills that we've been talking about. And we believe it'll support more businesses adopting practices that are good for the Philadelphia community. And I have 3 points that I wanted to share to support that. First, in our experience, the B impact assessment makes doing good business very concrete and very accessible. For me, this is not a new idea. It's something that I learned growing up. My dad was an executive of a small hometown bank, and people would tell me that he gave them the loan that got them started in business. These were the same people that we bought our refrigerator from and that we bought our clothes from. Also, people who worked for him told me how much they respected him and that he was a good person to work for. As a business owner, I wanted to emulate these principles, and the B Impact Assessment gives me a way to measure myself on those principles. It moves us past the model of having an Office of Social Responsibility to a model of incorporating these practices into the very fabric of our businesses. Second, the certification process challenges us to continuous improvement by having to go through a certification every 2 years. And with the way that B Lab continues to evolve the standards, we continue to evolve as businesses. So when we recertified last fall, our team sat around the table together and went through the assessment and used it as an opportunity to challenge ourselves to how do we do even better. And third, it's about creating a business environment where we expect this of people who do business in the city, and we support each other and we hold each other accountable. When I started my business in the 1990s, it wasn't easy to find other businesses that shared these same values and wanted to engage in a conversation about them. There are now 56 B corporations in the Philadelphia region. We're a thriving community, and we make important contributions to the local economy. We meet and we share practices and talk about how to have even a more positive impact in Philadelphia. And the question that came up about diversity within the B Corp community, one of the things that we've talked about is we're passionate about increasing that diversity of business ownership in the Philadelphia region. And we don't do this because it's a competitive advantage. We do it because it's the kind of community we want to live in and work in. So it's not, for us, it's not about having more bees in the city, although we'd like to see that number double in the next 3 years. It's about creating a culture in the city that says we expect our businesses to be good citizens, and we welcome businesses that are good at making a profit, creating jobs that support healthy lives, and have practices that are good for people and the environment. Business isn't neutral. It's a force in our community, and it can have a good impact or a not so good impact. And the challenges that we face can't be solved by government and nonprofits alone. Businesses have to be part of that solution, driving a strong economy and creating jobs and economic opportunity. So I'm speaking in support of this legislation.
How old is your business?
We are 13 years old.
And how long have you been a B Corp?
We've been a B Corp since the beginning.
Very good. Terrific. Thank you for your testimony. Councilman,
please.
One
quick question.
Sure.
And that is how many employees? Sorry.
We are our team is a total of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well. Oh, and just for clarification, you said your father was a small town bank. What small town?
Westchester.
Okay.
First National Bank of Westchester.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now, if we could invite up the principal for Forsyth Consulting. Please join Ms. Nicole at the table, Massage Agency, Marcus Ionazi, and Xavier Robert Cheatham. State your full name, pronounce your last name for us, and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. Thank you, council members, for listening to our stories today. My name is Nicole Kodiker, and I am co-founder of 4C Consulting. We are a social and environmental consulting firm here in downtown Philadelphia. I'm here today in support of the 2 pieces of legislation proposing tax incentives for sustainable businesses. I believe the support for social enterprise tax incentives is the first step towards making Philadelphia a more sustainable economy. My journey starts across the country in the dry, hot desert of southern Arizona. I spent my childhood on my father's cattle ranch called the Last Chance Ranch in the outskirts of Tucson, Arizona, where nature and playtime were one and the same. This time outside gave me a deep-rooted connection to nature and was ultimately what fueled my passion for sustainability and environmental responsibility. I ventured to Philadelphia to attend Drexel University as a business administration major, knowing that I wanted to make business the solution, not the problem. As I was about to graduate from Drexel in 2012, I searched for local jobs that aligned with my educational background and my values, rooted in making the world a better place. With little success, I sat down with one of my best friends at a coffee shop, and we decided to start our own company. And that was the day 4C Consulting was born. With my love for sustainable business and my partner's passion for community development and philanthropy, we made the perfect team. 4C Consulting was created to fill a gap that we saw in the market. Businesses want to do good, but don't always know how. Upon the incorporation of our company, my partner and I agreed that we had to walk the walk and talk the talk. So as a result, we are a Pennsylvania Benefit Corporation and a certified B Corp since the inception. As often as we can, we work with local businesses, we purchase 100% renewable energy, we use a local credit union, and overall, our mission is to increase the social and environmental impact for businesses and other organizations. 4C is a social and environmental consulting company that uses third-party frameworks like the B Corp Impact Assessment, a questionnaire completed by businesses in order to become B Corps, to find gaps and provide recommendations for businesses to improve their social and environmental programs and policies. We have worked with B Corps, B Corp wannabes, and other organizations who just want to do better. Our clients range from a commercial cleaning company that hires formerly homeless individuals into low-skill positions, a digital marketing agency that helps their clients make the most environmentally responsible decisions when printing and creating content, and even a corporate event company that is improving their transportation policies as they travel over 750,000 miles around the world every year. All of these companies are based in Philadelphia with employees who live in the greater Philadelphia area. Their charitable contributions, their volunteer hours, their workforce training, community partnerships all exist within our city. I've had many people ask me why I don't just move to San Francisco or Portland where everyone is already doing this. But time and time again, I shake my head and tell them that I like a challenge. We've seen the high potential in businesses that make up our neighborhood corridors in Philadelphia, from restaurants that pay all their employees a living wage to technology companies that are changing the status quo of what you have to look like to work in a tech company. While many of these businesses may not identify themselves as sustainable, they do it just because they think it's right, and we need to reward these businesses, to tell them to keep going and keep investing in them to show that we're committed to the work that they do. I'm fully invested in doing our part to make Philadelphia the social enterprise or B Corp capital of the world. If these two pieces of legislation are passed today, we will be the first city in the nation to promote economic incentives for social enterprises, paving the way for other programs and initiatives that also support responsible business in our economy. The conversations among city council members about paid leave, the living wage, workers' rights, and job creation are all on the table at once. B Corps are more likely to pay a living wage, provide paid leave, donate a portion of profits to local charities, and likely be owned by women and minority entrepreneurs. I came to Philadelphia to go to school, but I stayed to make a difference. I know many entrepreneurs and individuals, many of whom are testifying today, feel the same way. I sit before you today presenting the potential that we have right at our fingertips, something greater than all of us, a movement towards a more responsible economy, and I hope that you'll move forward with us.
We're glad you stayed. Thank you. Please, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Marcus Iannozzi, and I am the founder and principal of Message Agency, not Massage Agency. I just wanted to thank Councilwoman Quinones-Sanchez for supporting B corporations and introducing this legislation, and thank you for listening to this testimony. Just a little bit about our company.
Sure.
So Message Agency builds better websites for the greater good.
Pull your mic closer so we don't miss anything.
We are a certified B Corporation and a social enterprise committed to ensuring the sustainability and viability of the nonprofit sector through technology. We exclusively serve nonprofits, universities, government agencies, and other sustainable businesses using open source tools that help good folks leverage great technology to fulfill their missions. We're also a Best for the World B Corporation, and we have been, it's called Best for the World B Corporation, and that means that our score on the assessment is in the top 10% of all B Corps, and we're very proud of that. And our business actually achieved that score the first time we took the assessment. So it just underscores sort of the how powerful this assessment is for helping existing businesses who operate in this way to find a community and find a way to communicate their value to their stakeholders.
Congratulations.
Yes, and then so our business model leverages efficiencies in web development and in our consulting services to keep our services accessible and affordable to nonprofits. We do have big name clients, but we actually don't just chase large contracts. We have a mission to also support small nonprofit organizations and help them grow along with us. To date, we've helped over 300 organizations in the area and across the country to raise more money, to reach more supporters, and to serve more community members and to serve them better. I founded this business in 1995, originally as a solo consultant, but I've grown it into a leading firm in the open source space. We employ 16 people currently in Philadelphia, and will likely reach about 20 by year's end. After graduating from the University of Pennsylvania in 1991, I chose specifically to remain in Philadelphia and invest in what I saw was tremendous promise and potential here. And since then, I've not only grown this business, but I've been an active contributor in the broader community through economic development initiatives and business associations and local chambers. I firmly believe that business can have a positive social impact beyond just the creation of jobs. Those jobs should be good ones, jobs that provide opportunity, a living wage, and professional development. And I think most of the owners of B corporations share that perspective and are also folks who are engaged in their communities in other ways as well. While our growth may not have been as rapid as some startups, we have tripled in size size in a little over 2 years and doubled our revenue over the same time. We provide jobs with excellent benefits and opportunities for a diverse group of Philadelphians. We have a staff that is 38% women, 31% people of color, and 31% LGBT. And 75% of our staff belong to a traditionally underrepresented minority group. Also, a majority of the leadership in our organization, so team leads, so 75% also belong to one of those groups. So we have a very diverse workplace. As a triple bottom line business, we're often challenged by the competing demands of investing in our staff, serving our clients and their communities, and making a profit. And in our case, we choose people and planet over profit margin, unlike many of our competitors. While our clients tend to understand and appreciate this aspect of our business, deprioritizing profit makes it far more difficult to compete for employees, invest in marketing and sponsorships, and position ourselves alongside agencies for whom profit is still a primary criterion in their decision-making. Programs such as the Sustainable Business Tax Credit help to reduce our tax burden and provide some relief, allowing us to offset costs such as that we can invest in better benefit plans for our employees. I just wanted to note we do not have a beer fridge or ping pong tables as a tech company, so that this credit would not go towards that. We've taken advantage of the business tax credit in previous years, but we do feel that it was unfortunate that that could have excluded other B corporations from accessing this credit. So we are very much in favor of removing that restriction and applaud the increasing the credit from $4,000 to $8,000. We believe it's in the city's best interest to promote the formation and growth of businesses that have a social impact and act in environmentally responsible ways. If the city seeks to promote business formation and job creation, it should invest in the creation of good jobs and better companies that don't just have an economic impact, but a broader social one too. And in supporting this legislation, you are supporting the efforts of people like me who seek to make Philadelphia a better, more innovative, and more sustainable and human place to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you.
Yes, great testimony. Where is your business located?
We're currently at 8th and Callowhill, and we were
Really?
previously at 16th and South.
Wow. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Please, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the Environment Committee. My name is Robert Cheatham. I'm the founder and CEO of Azavia. As both a B Corporation and a member of the Sustainable Business Network, Azavia strongly supports the proposed ordinances aimed at reducing the tax burden for new businesses and increasing the credit. I'd like to speak briefly about my background, a little bit why we support these legislative initiatives. I'm originally from the Midwest. I came to Philadelphia in 1994 to go to graduate school. Like Marcus, I decided to stay here in Philadelphia. It was a deliberate decision to help contribute to a place that I felt had a lot of potential. I worked for the Philadelphia Police Department for 2 years and then for what is now the Office of Innovation and Technology. After 4 years working with the city, I decided to start my own business. Azavia began with me working out of my apartment. Over the past 15 years, Azavia has grown from 1 person to 55 people, and we expect to be at 60 by the end of the year, almost all of whom live and work in Philadelphia. Despite the high taxes in the city, Philadelphia has been very good to my company. Many of our products began with ideas generated by people and organizations here, and we now sell them around the United States and even the world. When we started in 2001, there were no B corporations, but I founded Azavia with a mission in mind around applying geospatial technology for civic, social, and environmental impact. The firm's public service mission ends up being expressed in a lot of different ways. We seek out projects that have the potential for civic, social, and environmental impact. We offer a summer student mentoring program called Summer of Maps, in which we match up nonprofit organizations with students studying data analysis in school. We donate a portion of our profits each year to nonprofits. We actively collaborate with academic researchers in order to advance the state of the art. We develop and support open data efforts like the Open Data Philly data catalog that the city now uses. We share a lot of our software under open source licenses so that others can use it. We have great benefits. And in 2010, we became a B Corporation. Why would we do all these things? Why give away a portion of our profits? Why limit ourselves to certain kinds of business? Why become a B corporation? This may sound a bit cheesy to all of you, but I believe in the power of technology to create better cities and better communities, and I believe in the power of business to accomplish good things in the world. B corporations use the power of business to solve social and environmental problems. While there may be many causes to the recent economic meltdown we had, I think one of the reasons was a broad cultural mandate or allowance that encouraged business owners and managers to pursue profits at the expense of people and the planet. This was not always the case. There was a time, not many decades ago, when I think most businesses and business owners felt a responsibility for the communities in which they operated. In the past few decades, we've seen an increasing number of companies that operate purely for the purpose of increasing shareholder value. The results are all around us: rising inequality, despoiled environments, and chronic poverty. As a business owner, I believe we need to restore a sense of what some people have called conscious capitalism. Businesses operated for the sake of a broad group of stakeholders that include customers, employees, communities, and perhaps even the shareholders as well. That may seem like a tall order, and to be honest, I don't think B corporations and other sustainable businesses are anything more than part of the answer. But my experience is that a company looks after its employees, ends up recruiting better people, has better retention and higher levels of commitment, better customer service, and higher revenues and profits. For Azavia, becoming a B corporation has been critical to enabling us to convince prospective job candidates from all over the United States to consider relocating to Philadelphia. We have extremely exacting standards for who we hire, and we end up recruiting from all over the country. Azavia has participated in the Sustainable Business Tax Credit, the subject of this testimony, for the past 3 years. I'm grateful for the nudge, but at its current level, it feels like a symbolic gesture with limited impact on my business. To be honest, for a business our size, raising the tax credit will not make a difference between whether or not I continue to locate here or even whether I hire a new person. But it's a powerful, powerful message, one that suggests that Philadelphia recognizes, welcomes, and cultivates businesses that are out for more than profits. I believe these bills will help cultivate a business ecosystem that supports employees, communities, and our environment, and I respectfully ask you that you support the 2 proposed ordinances. Thank you for your consideration.
You are welcome. Councilwoman Sanchez, any comments, observations?
Just really want to thank the businesses. You know, we've had an opportunity to visit some of the folks and talk to Nicole, and really we're even more inspired about what these businesses represent for the future of our economy as we talk about not only protecting our planet, but really their insight about the eliteness of having people aspire to even adopt some of the practices, whether they ultimately make the certification or not. So I want to thank everyone, and I really look forward to working with them through this process. To Robert's point around the difficultiness of the administration of the tax credit, I wanted to ask you, Madam Chair, if we can bring the Revenue Department. The administration has asked us for some technical amendments, yes, but they've also asked us to cap the effort. And so I'd like for the Revenue Department to speak to that, as in any acceptance of their amendment would is a decision that I want to do after we have a on-the-record conversation about how do you administer this and how do we have the broadest impact. So
very well.
If you
okay,
will
we will do
me.
that. Let me ask Councilman Tellenberger.
I would be interested in speaking to the Revenue Department
okay.
as well, but I do also have a question for Ms. Knapp.
Please.
If I could have a return.
Okay, so let me just say thank you. I'm deeply inspired by your testimony and your example that you can do well and then do good. It's quite inspiring. I did want to ask Message Agency. Let me get it right. You say you do web development?
We do.
Okay, did all of you leave testimony?
I did not, but I will do that.
Could you please?
Yes.
Okay, we thank you all very, very much for your important testimony.
Thank you.
And if we could ask Christine Knapp to come back to the witness table, along with Marissa Waxman, the administration members, to come to the witness table. Haji, could you make sure that we get testimony from those that were just at the witness table? Thank you. Okay, Councilman Taldenberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Knapp, one question, and that's as follows. With the increase in the tax credit, how many businesses do you estimate, or do you think, will apply?
It's hard to answer that question. I mean, our experience over the last several years is that the number of folks applying has gone down, but we do think that the change that's being proposed would become more attractive. So it's really hard to guess. I think part of it hinges a little bit also on the point that's been raised of how it's advertised and promoted. So if there's going to be an increased effort to promote that, that should certainly increase the number of folks that are aware of it and may take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Is that sufficient for you?
Yeah, that is sufficient.
Okay.
And should we go to
Councilwoman Sanchez?
Because I do have a question for revenue as well.
Okay. Why don't you pursue?
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Sanchez. With revenue, questions as follows. It seems like the only deterrence is really, well, let me phrase it this way. If the bill is right, it now seems to open the door for the only fraud that could possibly, not the only fraud, the only punishment for failing to meet the standards is to pay back taxes that you would be owed anyway, and possibly maybe an additional penalty. If you look at it this way, it could be used as a free loan by the users, and we catch you if we catch you kind of a thing. I think we might open the door to some fraud if we don't watch this more carefully or have a greater penalty. I mean, that's why I'm asking about having the possibility of a greater penalty.
Hi. Thank you, Councilman. Marissa Waxman, First Deputy Revenue Commissioner. So I would say two things there. One, we're certainly open to looking at what are the penalties consistent with ensuring that folks, this credit program, all of our credit programs, that are only being taken advantage of appropriately. That is really important to us. We also do have a strong sort of audit and compliance program within the Department of Revenue. I will also note that firms can't just, write in a credit amount on their tax return. There actually is an application process up front that is run by the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. So everyone who gets into this program actually has to get checked on the front end before they can even get in. So we think that those two things, but we're happy, of course, to have conversations about what the appropriate penalties are for folks who try and defraud the city and the taxpayers.
Am I correct in saying that the penalty right now would be just to pay back the taxes you would pay anyway? With additional penalty? Is that a correct answer?
So I want to go check because sometimes stuff is embedded in the credit itself. Otherwise, there's some provisions that are for the entire section of the business income and receipts tax code. So I want to make sure that what is the standard at any time if you claim anything you shouldn't underreport. Well, there are some standard penalties where interest and penalty.
Might so open we can the door to was like the movie Catch Me If You Can kind of thing. Which we wouldn't want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilman.
You're very welcome. Councilwoman Sanchez.
Thank you. I wanted Marissa, for the record, to kind of speak to how many of the businesses currently apply for it and how administratively they look to streamline this tax credit program.
So currently, I think in the most recent year, there were 25 businesses that applied. One of the more interesting things, though, is that even upon being approved, folks don't necessarily take the credit. So I think some of the changes in here, the change from making it simply a gross receipts tax, which is unusual compared to the rest of our tax credits, and making it apply to both the net income as well as the gross receipts side, is going to make this a lot more user-friendly to any of the taxpayers. I would say roughly half of the folks who take advantage of this, their entire tax bill is less than $1,000, but they're not even taking advantage of the program, which they could, if they had tax bills up to $4,000, but they don't even need the $4,000. But because it's not open on both the gross receipts and net net income side. They're not able to take the full benefit. So by expanding this to the net income side, it really does make this program more worthwhile to the folks who are already taking advantage of it. And that's consistent with all of our other tax credits as well.
How are we going to realign this tax credit with other tax credits to make it, to simplify it? I mean, if we're finding, particularly, as Christine said, you had less people applying, what are we doing to improve that outreach?
So one of the things that the department does is that we have a number of outreach programs. First of all, we make a point to talk to tax professionals, because really that's where a lot of businesses hear about this sort of thing. You know, if you're busy starting a new business, you're not necessarily thinking about the taxes, you're thinking about the business you're trying to build and how you want it to work. So over the course of each tax season, we meet with about 1,000 tax professionals, accountants, bookkeepers, CPAs, tax attorneys. And so we make sure to include this in all of our information for those folks. Also, recently we've launched a new program called Revenue 101, where we're meeting with the folks who connect folks with credits as well as just general tax compliance. And so, for example, this month we've got 3 events we're doing in conjunction with PIDC, where we're meeting with groups of 35 to 50 small business owners, making sure they understand what credits are out there. And so we're continuing to build up those events where we're going out and talking to folks, letting them know what's out there. We're also in the process of upgrading and updating our departmental website as part of the alpha.gov. We're hoping that makes it a lot easier to navigate for folks who are looking for this information. And probably one of the best things that we rolled out this year is a new tax credit form, Schedule SC, in our BERT return, which makes it a lot easier for folks to sort of keep track of their credits, make sure that they're claiming them. And it actually does have an outreach impact too, that if folks are looking at their return and there's this schedule for tax credits that lists every single one the city offers, a light might go off that, you know, where they would have never actively gone and looked for that credit. Now it's part of their tax return. They're going to see that they're not getting it, so it may prompt them to ask. So we've got a number of different initiatives in the works to make sure that this and all of our programs are accessible to folks.
Madam Chair, the administration has asked for a cap, so I want kind of Marissa to speak to the need for a cap, and they would prefer that we keep the credit at 4, understanding that in the previous legislation it was applied to the BERT. So as was mentioned previously, you needed to have a gross receipts of about $2 million to be able to exercise that. When you apply the $4,000 at gross and nets, there's more of a significant impact. The reason we had asked for $8,000, for me, I looked at this tax credit as an opportunity for folks not only to be rewarded and incentivized for doing right, but also an opportunity for people to buy and locate in particular districts, and that's why I felt the need for more money. You know, but you know, I'll let Marissa speak to why they feel they need a cap, and just really want to go on the record because I'm very reluctant to accept it, but I like to get things done. So I'll let Marissa.
Sure. So this program, we're looking for capping the number of participants, and that's consistent with every other tax credit program that the city currently offers, the CDC, the job creation, the PREP, which is for returning citizens. And the reason caps are important is it allows us predictability in terms of understanding what revenues are going to come in and what the city's exposure are. As we do our budget each year and we have to figure out exactly how much revenue we have and how we're going to spend it, we need that predictability of being able to project forward how much money we're going to collect from this tax. And the caps on these programs help us figure out what our sort of maximum exposure is. And so, you know, obviously they can be amended in the future if the demand is great. That's happened with a number of other tax credit programs, but we need just that sort of protection each year to understand, you know, what's the most that could be claimed. And so if you look at programs like the CDC, the amount of credit changed over time, the number of organizations that were eligible for that, they change, but there's always been a cap. The same has been true in the job creation tax credit. And so we want to make sure that this is consistent with how all other tax credits are administered, and that, you know, we're balancing the desire to provide incentives to these businesses to making sure that we have the resources needed for the entire city.
Who or what becomes the trigger that there's a need to revisit a piece of legislation and amend the cap?
You know, it can come from a variety of places, but typically that would be from council. Folks, you know, as you're hearing from constituents and some of the other programs, that's how it's always been, or the administration noticing that there's a need and looking for expansion.
Please.
Again, that being a problem that we want.
You say
that being a problem that we want. Because ideally, as I said, we spend quite a bit of resources here advocating for these types of businesses and people to adopt these types of values. Again, I still believe that 8,000 is a better figure, but for the purposes of moving this along and getting it started, I do want to kind of go on the record that I think it's important that this tax credit not be something that is singled out, but it is something that, as the mayor has articulated, is embraced by the Department of Commerce as well as our Office of Sustainability as an area of growth, and that our outreach efforts with our stakeholders, you know, SBN and others, that we really have a plan for that. And, you know, just want to make sure that, you know, if I come back to this committee in the future saying, you know, we need more, that they understand that I reluctantly agreed for less from the beginning. I don't think this is, I think this is being overthought too much. I think this is much simpler, but I understand that, like anything else, when you're dealing with a massive bureaucracy, it takes a little bit longer for folks. But, you know, I'm encouraged that the administration will work with us on that, and I hope that the advocates in particular will be included in how we outreach to this.
It is a starting point, and by way of information, Christine Knapp, or maybe even Haji Malumian might help me remember a tax credit that we offered for developers. And we discovered that only 4 developers were taking advantage of it, so we tweaked it and amended.
The green roof tax credit.
Our green roof tax credit, because there was not enough, A, awareness, B, awareness, C, awareness, and therefore little to no activity. And so we circled back, and we just retweaked and amended that bill to hopefully incentivize and raise the awareness for more developers to take advantage of it. That was actually brought to our attention by a developer. And so it will be incumbent upon the environmental sustainable community to pay attention and keep this on the radar screen. So here's the question, given Councilwoman Sanchez's concerns. Would there be value in putting in the legislation, I'm simply asking, a sunshine that at X period of time, 12 months from now, 24 months from now, the Revenue Department is required to come back and report back how well this is being used? I don't know, but I want to put it out there.
I believe annual reporting is already a part of the...
What did you say, Christina?
Annual reporting is already something that is required through the legislation. So we will...
What kind of reporting?
Annual. Each year there's a report that talks about the utilization, number of firms applied, credits taken.
So to my question, annual reporting happens. I'm suggesting maybe we take it a step further, that revenue is required to come back, because this is a new universe. It's a new world, if you will, and it's unlike any of the departments or any of the tax credits you've mentioned, because this is all about the future. And so with that, would the Revenue Department entertain reporting back to
certainly
to council and the committee what the facts are as they relate to raising the cap?
Absolutely. We can certainly come back to present our annual report, certainly.
So then it's really incumbent upon the sponsor of the bill to have another resolution that calls from hearings to hear a report. That's, Council Lady?
No, again, we intend, I intend to utilize this new tool in the toolbox to draw businesses to my district. I have a great interest in creating a hub and really embracing this sector in my district. So we will be vigilant, and it is my hope that the administration will take advantage of our advocates and the existing business community that exists in this sector, and really utilize that to create an environment, as Robert and some of the other folks said, the awareness, whether people actually get to the certification or not, that process I think is an important one.
Yes, it is.
And again, the city wants to be open for business, and I think this sends a message that it's not about any business, but it's about sustainable businesses that provide good paying, sustainable jobs. And so out of respect for the work that they've already done up to now, I think it's important that we move this forward. So I very reluctantly, because I hate to put a cap when you haven't even started. But I think this is too important, and I think we will be able to, in the next year, prove to the administration that this is worthy, that this is going to be a job creator, and we'll be back at this committee asking to raise these caps.
So put a tickler on your computer that come May 2017, report back in a meeting with the sponsor of it that what the facts are, because that will trigger and inform what the next steps should be.
With the caveat that it's about how we streamline that internally. I mean, I think one of the challenges with all, and I'm glad to hear that the Revenue Department has recognized this and really worked towards this. We need to make this easy for people to be able to leverage it. It's very disheartening for those of us who legislate this work to find out that folks don't know about it. One of the things I've learned with the use and occupancy exemption and others, when we ingrain it in the returns, I think it helps highlight that for folks. But I really want this to be a cause. Yes. This whole B Corp piece has to be something that we absolutely promote. And like I said, it's not becomes isolation of the Office of Sustainability, but one where Commerce and others are very proactive in saying this is the types of businesses that we want in this city.
It's very, very exciting. Would you agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. Certainly. Okay then. So we've heard that the charge and the appeal from the sponsor, and we trust that you'll take that to heart.
Absolutely.
Revenue. All right. Okay, then let's move to Bill number 160362 and ask our clerk to please read the title of the bill.
Bill number 160362, an ordinance amending Chapter 16-300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Maintenance and Supervision to require installation of LED lighting in connection with large city public works projects, and all under certain terms and conditions.
Okay, and so I will offer a special thank you to the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and the Department of Public Property for working with my staff throughout this process. I introduced this bill to require installation of LED lighting in connection with large city public works projects like this building. Utilizing LED lights is by far one of the most efficient and cost-effective methods of reducing our city's overall energy consumption. And so with that, we're going to move to Christine Knapp, Mayor's Office of Sustainability, and then we'll ask the next panel to be prepared to speak on Resolution 160203. Christine Knapp.
Good afternoon again. I'm Christine Knapp, Director of the Office of Sustainability, testifying in support of Bill number 160362, which requires the installation of energy-efficient light-emitting diode, or LED, lighting in every major renovation or new construction project funded primarily with city capital dollars. I want to thank Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for your continued leadership and the Department of Public Property, who worked closely with our office on this bill. The Office of Sustainability is responsible for the implementation of Greenworks Philadelphia, the city's comprehensive sustainability plan. Bill number 160362 supports several overarching Greenworks objectives, including energy conservation, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and improving energy efficiency of the city's building stock. As the largest energy user in Philadelphia, we know that every dollar the city saves on energy is a dollar that we can invest in essential city services. Requiring LED lighting in new construction and major renovations in city facilities will improve building performance, reduce maintenance costs, and save energy and money. LEDs can last 25 times longer, use 75% less energy, and offer comparable or better light quality than other types of lighting. The overall life cycle cost of most applications of LEDs is extremely favorable, and the city is already incorporating LED lighting in many new construction projects and major renovations of existing structures. And this has already seen environmental and economic benefits. A few highlights. The Office of Sustainability, through its Energy Efficiency Fund, has upgraded to LED lighting at 3 fleet repair shops. These projects have reduced energy use at the sites significantly and provide savings of over $50,000 annually. The Office of Sustainability is currently working with the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Public Property to replace lighting in fire stations and recreation centers, also through the Energy Efficiency Fund. And the Quadplex project, focused on energy conservation measures in the city's 4 largest office buildings, included a number of LED retrofits, including an upgrade of the iconic City Hall clock tower lighting to LEDs, which saves approximately $10,000 in energy costs annually. In the future, should technology advance, this legislation provides the flexibility to install lighting that exceeds the efficiency of LEDs. It also allows for exceptions in cases where LEDs are either financially or technically not feasible. The Office of Sustainability supports this bill because it is a simple step to codify a best practice and ensure that energy-efficient lighting is budgeted for and evaluated for inclusion in every city-funded major renovation or development project. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the administration? Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
For the continued partnership with our office.
Thank you.
If the clerk would please read the title, Resolution Number 160203.
Resolution number 160203, a resolution authorizing the Committee on the Environment to conduct public hearings to investigate the relationship between poor indoor environmental quality and high instances of childhood asthma.
Thank you very much. And we are delighted to have Dr. Thomas Farley, MD, MPH, City of Philadelphia Health Commissioner. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Please proceed with your testimony.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Thomas Farley, Commissioner of the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony in Resolution Number 160203 on the issue of environmental quality and childhood asthma in Philadelphia. Asthma is a disease in which the airways in the lung become irritated and narrowed. It causes repeated episodes of wheezing, breathlessness, and nighttime or early morning coughing. Asthma keeps children from taking part in physical activities, causes them to miss school days due to frequent hospital and doctor's visits, and interferes with their sleep. For reasons that are not clear, asthma rates are rising in this country, and hospitalizations for asthma are increasing in Philadelphia. Asthma rates are higher in African Americans than in whites, and are higher in people with lower incomes. Asthma attacks are triggered by breathing in small particles or chemicals that irritate the airways. Important asthma triggers in the home include tobacco smoke, mold, dust and dust mites, cockroach and mice allergens, and furry pets. Fortunately, interventions in the home to reduce these asthma triggers have been successful in reducing asthma exacerbations, reducing hospitalizations and missed days of school, and saving costs for medical care. Some of the important research demonstrating the effectiveness of these programs has been done by experts here in Philadelphia, and I think you're about to hear from one of those experts in just a minute. And then there are ongoing outreach programs conducted by hospitals and funded by health plans in Philadelphia to reduce in-home triggers for children with asthma or educate parents on how to do that. The Department of Public Health runs the Healthy Homes, Healthy Kids program, an initiative to prevent and correct significant hazards in homes of children with persistent or difficult to control asthma. The program is originally funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Since the HUD grant ended in December 2013, we have continued the program with limited physical home remediation using general fund dollars. The limited remediation includes personalized environmental action plan and motivational interviews, assistance with clutter reduction and smoking cessation, integrated pest management services, child and caregiver education, and limited physical remediation such as replacing carpets. Since 2011, the program has helped over 160 families, and we are continuing to receive referrals from St. Christopher's Hospital for Children and 2 of the city's health centers. Thank you for your interest in this important topic, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
You're very welcome. Any questions or comments for our witness, our health commissioner? You are welcome. We thank you for your expertise. We would like to call up the last panel, Dr. Tara Bryant-Stephens, Medical Director of the Community Asthma Prevention Program at Philadelphia Children's Hospital, Nancy DeLeon Link, Chief Operating Officer of the National Nursing Centers Consortium, report to the witness table, Stephanie Fleischer Seldom, Esquire, Executive Director of Rebuilding Together Philadelphia, Joe Roberts, Executive Director of the Healthy Row House Project, and Frank Monahan, Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Okay, please speak into the mic, state your name for the record, and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyra Bryan Stevens. I'm attending physician at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and founder and medical director of the Community Asthma Prevention Program of CHOP. It's a program that I began 19 years ago because of the high rates of pediatric asthma, as Dr. Farley referred to, in our communities. And I would like, before I begin, to thank Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown and the Philadelphia City Council's Committee on Environment for holding this hearing on the important issue of indoor air quality and its impact on asthma in children. Asthma is the most common childhood disease and the #1 reason why children miss school. In fact, in a study that we conducted at CHOP, we found that nearly 25% of children, both in the schools and in the community, had a diagnosis of asthma, and we know there are many that are undiagnosed. We also know that children with uncontrolled asthma have nighttime symptoms, and this interferes with their ability to sleep, therefore their ability to learn the next day. As medical director of the Community Asthma Prevention Program at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, over the past 18 years, I've seen the detrimental effects of poor indoor air quality on asthma control for children. The Community Asthma Prevention Program at CHOP provides free asthma classes in familiar environments such as schools, churches, daycare centers, and community centers throughout the city. We've had over 183 class series with over 2,700 participants. We also provide asthma resources for professionals in the students in school, as well as home visits in West, Southwest, and North Philadelphia. Within our home visits, our CAPS expert staff, who are community health workers, have conducted over 15,000 home visits for children with asthma. And what we do, what our staff does there, is it helps parents learn how to remove common asthma indoor triggers, as well as we give supplies to families to help them remove indoor triggers, such as mattress and pillow covers. We replace carpet with vinyl tiles. We also give them roach and mice bait. The families are then responsible for making the home improvements. We monitored that for a year that will reduce these asthma triggers. And within this, we see reduction in hospitalization and emergency room visits. Children should be safe where they live, learn, play, sleep, and worship. However, poor housing and poor school environments cause these children to be exposed to excess moisture, mold, rodents, roaches, and dust from holes in the wall, all which are triggers for asthma. You should have, hopefully, pictures that we've seen. Do you see attached to the testimony before and after? And you can see some of the environments that we encounter. Also, most recently, CAP has initiated the West Philadelphia Asthma Care Collaborative to formulate a comprehensive plan to reduce disparities in asthma outcomes. As part of our fact-finding, we actually took the data that Children's Hospital has around emergency room visits and hospitalizations, and we overlaid L&I violations. And as you can see also in the maps that are attached to my testimony, there are definite pockets where if we would band together to improve housing, we could probably reduce a lot of the hospitalization and emergency room visits that we see. And I really think that we have to approach this block by block and neighborhood by neighborhood until we have adequate housing for all children in Philadelphia. In terms of remediation, however, schools cannot be forgotten because during the week, that's where school-age students spend the majority of their time. Unfortunately, in Philadelphia, due to the age of the buildings and in many cases inadequate funding, our children are exposed to the same triggers that we find in inadequate housing, including mice, mold, and cockroaches. Our partners at the School District of Philadelphia's Office of Environmental Management Services have done due diligence in identifying school buildings that need capital improvement, but they unfortunately don't have the funding in their budget to implement the changes. It is important for children's health that each school's indoor air quality meets the standard of green, healthy buildings, and I hope that the council will support funding to accomplish this. I'd like to conclude by telling you a story that I shared with President Obama about a year ago, where I had the honor of representing my patients in Children's Hospital in a small roundtable discussion on climate change and public health. I met with the President and with the U.S. Surgeon General, Vivek Murthy. In the year after Hurricane Irene, a young boy came to CHOP's emergency department 6 times and after that was admitted to the hospital multiple times due to asthma attacks. He was referred to the Community Asthma Prevention Program. We had our staff member visit that house, and you could see obvious mold growing on the walls. She was able to connect, our staff was able to connect the mom with additional resources, which resulted in him moving out of the house. And during the year after that move, he only had one emergency room visit and no hospitalizations. So clearly this is an example of what we can do if we really tackle housing, tackle the indoor air quality. And unfortunately, we cannot reach every household of children with asthma. We know that there's 35,000 in the school district, and if 25% of the children have asthma, you can imagine the number of houses. So we really need a system-wide way to create asthma-friendly environments for children with asthma. In closing, all levels of governments need to work together to ensure that Philadelphia's children attend school in safe buildings and live in safe housing, which is asthma trigger-free. And this will result in reduction of asthma hospitalizations, asthma symptoms, and even deaths due to asthma, and very importantly, increase school performance and attendance. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
We thank you as well. We will hear from all of the panelists and then pose questions. Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Nancy DeLeon Link. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the National Nurse-Led Consortium, or NNCC. We're a national nonprofit housed in Philadelphia, and we have over 15 years of experience implementing programs related to environmental health and children's health and asthma. I'd like to thank the members of the committee for the opportunity to submit testimony today. This is a very serious issue, as has been discussed, and NNC is requesting that City Council consider increased funding for relevant programming, home repairs, and education, as well as increased support of tenants' rights and building the capacity of the Department of Licenses and Inspections to enforce existing housing codes. NNCC has a long history of implementing programs that address indoor environmental health and improve health outcomes for children. We're currently the grantee of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Lead and Healthy Homes program, which is funded by the State Department of Health. This 3-year program provides healthy home visiting services to low-income households with children in an 8-county region, including Philadelphia. NNCC works with partner agencies to provide families with home visiting services, and we conduct about 250 of those visits to households in Philadelphia each year. These home visiting services include providing home assessments, comprehensive environmental health education, and needed low-cost interventions, such as those described by Dr. Stevens, as well as limited hazard remediation. The Philadelphia Department of Public Health is a valued partner with us on this program. As was discussed, Philadelphia faces many issues related to indoor environmental quality. In 2013, the National Center for Healthy Housing stated that Philadelphia was ranked as one of the most unhealthy cities in the U.S., in part due to its older housing stock and high levels of poverty. These unhealthy housing conditions can lead to asthma and other respiratory problems. This often occurs, as was described, due to an increased presence of asthma triggers in the home. For example, mold and moisture associated with leaks, also poor ventilation, as well as pest infestations. In 2015, Philadelphia was listed as the 3rd most challenging place for asthmatics to live in the U.S., and as also stated, almost 22% of Philadelphia children have asthma. Just want to tell you a story based on our own program to illustrate the impact that indoor environmental quality can have on asthma. So last month, with our Lead and Healthy Homes program, we conducted a hazard remediation in a low-income Philadelphia household with a severely asthmatic child. She was suffering from frequent asthma symptoms, using her rescue medication often, and not sleeping through the night due to her asthma. NNCC's Healthy Home Specialist conducted an assessment of the home and recognized a number of asthma triggers, including a roof leak, linked to mold growth and moldy carpeting in the child's bedroom. NNCC worked with a local contractor to fix the roof leak and remove the carpet. When the Healthy Home specialist returned to the home after the remediation had been completed, the child's father told her that since the remediation, his daughter had been sleeping through the night and not waking up to control her asthma. The father said his daughter ran downstairs the morning following the remediation, gave him a huge hug, and said, "Dad, I can finally breathe." This is why we do what we do. And experiences such as this reinforce the impact that services can have on improving asthma to better children's health, as well as the health of our community. With these points in mind, NNCC respectfully requests that City Council consider the following: discussing the importance of indoor environmental quality and its relationship to asthma at City Council's upcoming public health budget hearing, specifically related to dedicated funding for ongoing Healthy Homes programming citywide, increased funding for new and existing home repair programs, including basic systems repair, weatherization services, and mold abatement remediation, increased efforts to work in coordination with organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, Rebuilding Together Philadelphia, and other organizations, increased funding to provide education to Philadelphia residents regarding indoor environmental quality, its relationship to asthma, and available related resources. Second, increased support of tenants' rights related to indoor environmental quality. For example, increasing education, resources, and policies around a tenant's right to high-quality indoor air. And third, build and ensure the capacity of the Department of Licenses and Inspections to enforce existing housing codes. By implementing these requests, Philadelphia will contribute significantly to reducing the negative impact that poor indoor environmental quality can have on childhood asthma, which in turn will improve public health. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Jill Roberts, the Executive Director of the Healthy Row House Project, an initiative of the Center for Architecture. The Healthy Row House Project was founded in 2014 with the goal of researching, creating, and testing a model on how to bring home repair to scale in order to preserve existing affordable housing and improve the health of the people living in those homes. For 2016, our goal is to research the health conditions that cause Philadelphians to miss school and work or hasten their moving into assisted care facilities, and determine how many homes in Philadelphia are in need of repairs that will stabilize and preserve the house and improve the health of the occupants. Philadelphia has a huge affordable housing asset in our blocks and blocks of row homes, but 38% of homeowners in Philadelphia make less than $35,000 a year. These homeowners want to stay in their homes but cannot afford to repair them, and that leaking roof and the resulting mold and dampness are making the residents sick. Asthma in particular is a fast-growing public health problem. Unhealthy housing conditions cause 40% of all asthma incidences and contribute to poor behavior and performance in schools. On the Healthy Row House Project website, we have volumes of data and information in our resource library that outline in detail programs and studies across the country and right here in our own city that show housing and poor repair has a direct effect on the health of the occupants. Repairs to homes in Philadelphia is a well-documented need. The repair needs to go beyond indoor environmental quality, but IEQ is a distinct part of any repair program. Philadelphia has several really good government and nonprofit programs that repair homes, but we need to bring home repairs to scale. Our neighborhoods have lost thousands of affordable homes to abandonment over the past 60 years due to the family's inability to afford the deferred maintenance costs and simply abandon the home. There is no reason to lose more. If we repair a home that is owned outright and therefore affordable, we can maintain the health of the home and its occupants, as well as the block and the neighborhood, prevent home abandonment, reduce housing insecurity and homelessness. A collaborative project with St. Christopher's Hospital and the Philadelphia Department of Public Health invested an average of $3,500 into 160 homes that had children with severe asthma. The home repairs included repairing leaks, remediating mold and water damage, removing carpeting and refinishing floors, and instituting a pest management program. After the repairs, from January 2011 through December 2013, the group reported 70% fewer hospitalizations, 76% fewer ER visits, 62% fewer doctor's visits, and 53% fewer missed days of school or daycare due to asthma. And that is just one program with a small population sample, but the results are extraordinary when it comes to recognizing the value of the health improvements to the children and the preservation of their homes. In 2009, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Commission to Build a Healthier America reported in a study that 40% of asthma episodes are due to asthma triggers in the home, representing $5 billion annually in preventable medical costs. The Healthy Row House Project, along with several other programs in the city, wants to find a way to bring home repairs to scale in Philadelphia to improve not just indoor environmental quality, but the overall quality of the existing affordable housing stock in this great city, and at the same time improve the health of the residents of the homes so that they can be successful and healthy city citizens. Thank you.
Welcome as well. Any questions or comments from members of this panel? We want to thank you for the visual Children's Hospital PowerPoint. It just helps us visualize the magnitude of the problem. Councilwoman Bass.
Yes, thank you very much. And I want to thank the panel for being here today and for your comments and for not just coming with the experiences that you've had, but also ideas to help us deal with the problem. And as someone who has, a number of family members with asthma, there's nothing more frightening than when you're around someone who can't breathe, and if they don't have their inhaler, and it's just the worst thing in the world. And breathing is something that's so natural that we do it, we don't think about it. And when you're around someone who is having trouble, with breathing, with their access is restricted, their lungs are restricted. Then it becomes, quite a fearful experience. I'll put it that way. But I wanted to thank you all for the recommendations that you gave us in terms of how to fix the problem, particularly suggestions on additional dollars for basic systems repair, things of that nature that would help us remediate mold in particular, which is so problematic in folks with asthma. Also, I wanted to take this as an opportunity to recognize that Council President Darrell Clark has a plan that I think would be very helpful in dealing with this situation. He has introduced a home preservation plan that will put additional dollars into preserving existing homes here in our in-need neighborhoods and neighborhoods that are underserved and in those communities that are most at need. And I think that will go a long way in terms of making a difference with asthma, with mold, with all the remediation, and not just around asthma as it relates to the mold, but your quality and environment and living conditions altogether. So I just wanted to take this as an opportunity to applaud our council president, even though he's not here right now, but just to recognize that we do have something on the table right now that I think will be very, very helpful regarding this matter. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You are welcome. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate your intellect and the work that you're doing in this area, on this issue. Thank you very much. So others here to testify, our last panel, Stephanie Fleischer Seldom Esquire, Frank Monahan. If you proceed to the witness table and give us your testimony. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Chairwoman Reynolds Brown and members of the committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to testify. Councilman Taubenberger, before you leave, I just want to acknowledge, oh good.
I'm actually getting a pencil so I can take down.
Oh good. I wanted to thank you for joining me at our recent rebuilding days in Mantua. Rebuilding Together Philadelphia renovates the homes of low-income families, about 75 owner-occupied homes a year, by mobilizing volunteers. Thankfully, the council member Heldenberger was not in so much pain when he was walking around on our building. Apparently got a good visit and enjoyed meeting with our homeowners.
I did. It was,
Great.
It was a very nice meeting and really hands-on on what you're doing, and I like that. And actually, I was actually in more pain than I am today because I didn't have this boot on. This boot has received a lot of pain for anyone that wants to know. It's a great thing. It's an old soccer injury, and I actually was hobbling around more so at your place than here. So.
Oh, good. Well, good. Hooray for healthcare. And that's what we're talking, right? That's what we're talking about today is the health and safety of our children and those affected by asthma. So, at the build that the councilman was at, we had about 500 volunteers and we renovated 15 homes in Mantua. And I just want to tell you one story about one of those homeowners that directly goes to what we're talking about today. So this homeowner is Tanisha Smith. She is the single mother of 5. One of her children has asthma. We removed the carpet from her home that was old and dirty and full of pollen and pet dander and pest. And we got a call just yesterday. I just want to let you know my daughter is coughing less. So I'm an asthmatic, and I know that asthma is not just wheezing, it's coughing. So we really helped this one child in a month just by removing carpet. So what are the other things that we do? All of our home repairs are based on 25 health and safety principles created by the National Center for Healthy Homes and about 9 Rebuilding Together affiliates across the country, including Rebuilding Together Philadelphia. And I attached for you the list for goals, and the highlighted ones on page 2 are the ones that directly impact asthma. They're the carpet removal I just talked about. It's the moisture problems that were talked about in the prior panel. It's pest and pet dander removal. So all of those things are what Rebuilding Together does every day in the blocks all around the city of Philadelphia. I want to also thank Councilman Green for joining Councilmember Heldenberger at our recent block build. And of course, I want to invite Councilwoman Bass and Councilwoman Reynolds Brown to our next build, which is in West Oak Lane. We worked with State Representative Evans, and we'll be repairing 15 homes on June 3rd, not very far from your district, Councilwoman Bass. So we'd love to have you there to show what we do and what we can do with volunteers and really cost effectively to reduce asthma and other health problems in our community. For a very limited amount of money, our average investment is $8,000. So you've heard, I'm sure, all of the statistics. My colleague Jill did a fabulous job at giving you some of those. I'm sure the health commissioner did as well. So I don't want to belabor the points that they already made. But I do want to emphasize that the substandard housing that we have in Philadelphia really contributes to the lack of health for our children and our families, and the work that Rebuilding Together and Habitat, since my colleague Frank is not here. No, he didn't show. Okay, so Frank, Habitat does a fabulous job as well. We partner with them. We partner with NNCC, whom you heard from earlier. So we're really hoping that Council President Clark's initiative will work not only to reduce that wait list, but also to recognize the work that Habitat and Rebuilding Together are already doing cost effectively in the community, and perhaps some of that $60 million could also go to expand our programs and let us make an impact with our volunteers, as opposed to just with city money. We really can leverage the city money and our volunteers, I think, frankly, a little more cost effectively than PHDC, whom we partner with a lot. But I just couldn't let the opportunity slip by to make a pitch for the work that we do.
So in many ways, you've answered the question, but we do want to put on the record, the council president recently introduced a proposal to provide $100 million towards housing preservation efforts. Do you think this proposal would improve the indoor environmental quality of Philadelphia's housing stock? and subsequently lower the childhood asthma rate?
I do, because as everyone has spoken to today, the repairs, the basic system repairs actually have a huge impact on asthma. If you don't have an impermeable roof, you have moisture, and that triggers asthma, right? So if you have a leaky plumbing fixture, right? Again, moisture problem. They do the whole entire exterior of a house. If you just plug a single hole in the exterior of a house, you prevent pests from coming in. And I'm sure the health commissioner talked about how pests can cause asthma. So yes, absolutely, basic system repair is part of the problem. But what they won't do, that Rebuilding Together and Habitat will do, is remove carpet, right? They won't do that, right? They won't actually take up old, dirty, ratty carpet and put down vinyl floor that will prevent other asthma attacks. So there's a limit to what basic system repair is allowed to do.
Okay, all right. Question or comments from members of the committee? Councilman Green.
Thank you, and Ms. Selden, thank you for your commentary. Thank you for inviting the council members to your next rebuild. However, you may have forgotten that you could also invite, maybe not Councilman Tautenberger because he's still in recovery, but both for Councilwomen Brown and Bass for an outstanding outdoor activity this Saturday morning at 9 a.m., which is the Rebuilding Together Philadelphia 5K in the park at Forbidden Drive, which I've already signed up to run. I'm not going to challenge. Oh, I'm Councilman Sanchez. I'm sorry, I forgot. Yes, I didn't challenge. I just said invite to participate. But I just want to I'll allow them to answer or choose not to answer on that invitation. But I do want to thank Ms. Selden as well as Ms. Link and Dr. Brian Stevens and Ms. Roberts for your testimony in reference to the issue of asthma as it pertains to the housing stock we have here in the city of Philadelphia. As everyone on this panel and in this body, you know, Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods. We have a very high home ownership rate, and because of being a city of neighborhoods, you know, people live in homes that are often older, and we don't have the resources that we need to at times maintain these homes, and which some people don't focus on the connection between the ability of maintaining the homes in the city of Philadelphia and some of the health issues and concerns like asthma, as well as some of the other concerns. So I want to thank all of you for your testimony and your advocacy in this regard.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us tomorrow. And anyone else is, of course, welcome. Thank you for the plug. But really, we'd love to see you during the day, during your weekday on June 3rd to see us in action. So anytime during the day, 9 o'clock is the press event. So hopefully we'll see anyone who hasn't been yet. Or you're going to work this time, right, Councilman? I was going to get you in a T-shirt this time, right?
I plan on trying to do that like I've done in Logan in the past.
Yes.
So thank you for the challenge.
Schedule permitting.
Okay.
Thank you for the challenge. I am not one to back down from or back away from anything physical fitness related. But I'm committed for this Saturday, so we'll get a rain check.
Okay.
Okay.
It's probably a good thing because I think it's supposed to rain. That's a good choice. Yeah. We have ponchos. We bought ponchos. You're good to go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else to testify on this resolution? With that, then, there being no further testimony, we will close our public hearing and go into a public meeting. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion on bill number 160132. Yes, for amendment to the bill 160162.
Okay, thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. A amendment has been offered to bill number 160132. Copies of the amendment have been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move that the amendments to bill number 160012 be approved.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and properly seconded that the amendments to bill number 160132 be approved. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. There being no opposition, this motion is carried. I now recognize Councilwoman Bass for a motion on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that Bill number 160132 as amended be moved out of this committee with a favorable recommendation, and I further move that the rules of council be suspended to allow first reading at our next public session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Duly seconded. This it has been properly moved and properly seconded that Bill number 160132 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation. A further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading of this bill at the next scheduled session of City Council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? There being none, this motion is carried. And let me just congratulate Councilwoman Sanchez on this B Corp and how exciting that is. And offline, I'll share with you some ideas about how to promote this through social media. Okay. Yes, that's where we're headed.
Can you, just real quick before we do 133?
Yes.
As I spoke to, and I had the administration come forward for some of the members who may have been out of the room when we had the discussion, the administration, and I'm very reluctantly, I'm accepting these amendments about capping the number of businesses. Right now, the current cap is 25. We are doing 50 for year 2017 and 2018 and 75 for year 2019 through 2022. You know, I wanted to put on the record that I may be coming back. The administration says they need this for predictability. The other amendment, which really hurts me, is that they're insisting on keeping the benefit at $4,000 as it is applied to net income, as opposed to just the $4,000 that was applied to gross, and not the $8,000 that I proposed. There again, I reserve the right to come back to this committee if we feel that this is not enough. I think as was testified, there's quite a bit of obstacles about getting to B Corp certification. We're asking folks to pay a living wage. We're asking them to do all of the things that we legislate here. And really the goal for me is for B Corps to look at our commercial charters and in my district in particular, creating a hub and really buying into the neighborhood, not just renting. And so there again, I'm going to accept it for the purposes of moving this forward and really making the statement that we're going to embrace this. But I just wanted to note that if in fact we find a huge interest in this, we will be coming back to the Environment Committee because I'm very reluctant about accepting the caps and the limitations for something that we all agree is the future, incredible potential for diverse, sustainable businesses.
Well taken for the record. And the administration did testify on the record that they will report back within the year. So it's incumbent upon them to signal their computers to circle back. Okay then. That being stated, we now, the chair again recognizes Councilwoman Bass for amendment to bill number 160133.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There have been amendments offered for bill number 160133. Copies of the amendments have been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move that amendments to bill number 160133 be approved.
Okay. Any second?
Second.
This bill has now been moved and properly seconded that the amendments to bill number 160133 be approved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? There being none, this motion is carried. Now the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass to make a motion on the bill as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that bill number 160133 as amended be moved out of this committee with a favorable recommendation, and I further move that the rules of council be suspended to allow first reading at our next public session.
Any second?
Second.
Very good. This has been properly moved and seconded that bill number 160133 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation. And further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading of this bill at our next scheduled session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? There being none, this motion is carried. We now move to bill number, let me get it right. 160362. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass regarding bill number 160362.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that bill number 160362 be moved out of this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to allow first reading at our next public session.
Any second?
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 160362 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading at our next scheduled session. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? There being none, the motion is carried, and bill number 160362 will be moved out of this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be permitted to permit first reading at our next scheduled session. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a motion on resolution number. Okay, I've been advised that resolution number 160203 will be held at the call of the chair. That concludes the City Council Committee on the Environment and Sustainability, and I thank my colleagues for your participation. Thank you very much.